So welcome. My name is Dr. Ibrahim Jaffe. Let's take a few minutes to talk to you about understanding the 99 divine names of God. Now, the prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said that there are 99 names of God, and that if people learn these names, that they would enter into paradise. And what he meant by this was not, as many people think, that just by memorizing these 99 names that you reach to this higher world, but that through understanding and purifying oneself so that one becomes a carrier of these names. In other words, that one begins to manifest these attributes within them, their inner reality begins to change and they become filled with goodness and filled with love. By the same token, as you fill yourself up within, the outside is reflected back, and you begin to have a life that is also very deeply beautiful and carries this beauty within you. Now, in the spiritual teachings, there are different aspects of spirituality. From a certain perspective, we want to reach into the world of the paradise or the heavenly worlds after we leave the body. And so many people are seeking to reach that particular attribute of life. And this is certainly, by learning these names, that is reachable. But in the deeper way, as Sufis, we realize that there are a group of people who are what we call those who are brought near. Those who are brought near, this third category, are those that have purified themselves and have cleaned the human aspects of themselves, such as the hurt, and the anger, the jealousy, and are manifesting more and more of the divine nature within them. Now, of course, nobody can become God, but we can begin to manifest some of the attributes of God. In other words, we can develop true compassion, or true peace within us, or true wisdom within us. And these are some of the attributes that God has given to humanity. In other words, that we carry some of these divine attributes within us. So in this teaching, we learn these qualities, and we learn to truly understand them, and to truly manifest them, and to truly bring them into our being so that we begin to express real mercy in our lives, real compassion in our lives. And we learn this by purifying those things within ourselves that keep those qualities from expressing themselves within us. Now, the other side of learning the qualities, besides reaching this world of paradise and becoming one who's brought near, meaning one who begins to reach union with we call it divine union, or reaching hakika, the truth of God. Some people, it's a very deep state of oneness where our inner being becomes less and less present. In other words, the humanness. In other words, God has said there are those who walk with me, and they talk with my words, and their hands reach with my hands, and their eyes see with my eyes. This state is what we call the state of union. This is our word for the world of union. So we're learning to reach that state through this process of working with the divine names. Now, in the world of healing, the divine names are extremely, extremely, extremely powerful. So when you learn to work with the names in healing, you can see very dramatic changes within the human being. And I want to tell you a story about my mother, who was dying of cancer. And she was in the hospital when her oxygen levels dropped down to about, I think it was 50 or 60%. Normal oxygen is 100%. All right, so she dropped down to 50 or 60, and in all essence should have died at that point, and everything appeared to be that she was dying. And my uncle, her brother, said to me, Ibrahim, I am not a firm believer in God, but if you can bring her back, I will become a believer in God. So I sat down, not just because I wanted him to come back. Of course, I did want him to believe in God, but I also wanted to help my mother, and I wanted him also to be happy and to feel that there was God in the deep way. And I took my 99 qualities list, and I began to work with all the 99 qualities through dhikr, through repetition, through what I call running the qualities. It means to bring the name, like Ar-Rahman, the name of compassion, and there's a way to bring that compassion through the soul, the heart, through the body. In other words, it can be brought through what we call divine request. And when that happens with dhikr or with recitation, very powerful things happen, transformation happens. Well, I ran through the 99 qualities, as I just said, and over a period, it took me about 3 hours to complete the process. When the process was done, I would say within, I don't know, really in some way, minutes of the completion of that process, my mother wakes up from this coma. She was really in a coma. She reaches down, starts to fiddle with her oxygen, trying to get the thing right and saying, where's my oxygen? Trying to work with it. Her oxygen levels shot up to close to 90%, or somewhere in that area, 88, 90%. And she asked for her dinner and started speaking, wanted to know what had happened. So I consider this a miracle. I consider this a very deep, profound miracle, which for me is something that I see through working with these qualities, that when we are humble, when we have a deep humility, when we are deeply bowed to God, and we recite these names with the deepest sincerity, and we make what we call dua or requests with these names, then God sends his love and his healing and his angels to people. And in those moments, it's possible for anything to happen. Anything can change in that moment. And so this is one of the second reason we want to learn to work with these qualities, because it is a profoundly powerful way of healing and a profoundly powerful way of changing what would be considered in many situations a very untenable positions, like somebody with an oxygen of 50. Basically, you would not ever expect them to return, and yet she did. So the third thing is our own working with our world, which means that we have things that each of us run into in our world. For example, we lose a job, or somebody brings some kind of statement against us, or somebody gets put into prison, or somebody gets into a situation where they're stuck out in the middle of the wilderness and they're frightened and they're scared. Things like this. It happens. It happens in people's lives. There are emotional issues, marriage. There are wanting to have children. There are cases of danger where we're facing danger in our world. Well, what do you do in that situation? Well, you're out there in the woods by yourself. You want safety. You want protection. You're frightened. What do you do? Well, yes, you can depend on your inner strength. You can hopefully, be able to walk, or it's not too cold or something, so you have your power. You can use your mind, of course, try to figure out where you are and get back. But isn't there anything else that we can do? Yes. You see, if you work and know the correct pronunciation, the correct dhikr or recitation, and you know how to use these qualities, you will see that by recitation of these qualities, many, many, many things that could go wrong in our lives are eased, are changed, so that we don't have to have problems. Where we might be hurt, we have protection. Where we might lose something, we find it. Where we can't have children, all of a sudden we do. So many things like this can happen through the power of these names, if we are truly open to sincerely receiving them. We have perception of them at some level. When I say perception, we feel them. Whereas we can feel compassion, we can feel mercy, we can feel love. These are attributes of God. When we can feel the deep, pure love, when we can feel the deep, pure mercy, then something very, very powerful happens. So we learn to perceive them. We learn to feel them. We learn to do recitation of them. And we learn to understand how to work with these names so that we have these really magnificent results in our life. Now, we say that there are different types of names. There are names of what are called beauty, and there are names of majesty. Okay, so those names of beauty, of course, are names like Ashakur that lift us up and bring thankfulness and appreciation in our life. But there are names of majesty, Al-Jalal, which are the names when we're facing really difficult times in our lives. And these names can bring ease in those situations and bring powerful transformation in our life if we allow ourselves to fully understand them and be able to work with them. So take your time every day. It's very important to begin to memorize these names, to learn the dhikr of the names and the pronunciations and the linguistics of the names. It's very important to understand the perception, to deepen our perception. How do we perceive these names and move with these names? We need to be able to identify the necessary qualities to work with in specific situations. How do we identify qualities, what they are? We need to understand the teachings that the qualities are bringing to us, and I'll be speaking to that later in another video. And finally, we need to be able to learn how to use the qualities as medicines, as tools, with the divine aid, with divine help, by bringing them in through recitation so that they can truly make the transformational changes in our lives or heal or perhaps help us to return to that state of unity and be of those who are not just reaching paradise, but those who become ones who have been brought near. So thank you very much, and I pray that each and everyone listening to this takes some time to deeply learn these qualities and to be able to work with these wonderful, amazing gifts that have been given to us. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. May peace and blessings be upon all of you.